It's a pleasure to be with you, even at a distance from Athens, to discuss a crucial rupture. A rupture that always existed and of which many emancipatory cultural workers were aware of already, but it's a rupture that materialized profoundly and precisely through ruangrupa's Documenta 15 across this summer, and I would describe it as a rupture between art worlds. Now, many of us who see their practice inherently tied to the work of popular mass movements and emancipatory political organizations know that the so-called art world is not our art world, meaning a dominant art world whose main political impact in the world is to beautify a corrupt, extractivist, neocolonial system. And in that dominant art world, artists are nothing but companies and artworks are nothing but stocks. And so shock could be read from newspapers covering Documenta 15, announcing that oligarch collectors were skipping the Kassel stop to go shopping in Venice instead. Good riddance, many of us thought, because this here is our art world. Our art world, a world in which we do not separate political organizing from artistic imagination, in which we do not isolate supposed individual genius from our collective creative capabilities. An art world in which form relates not just to an object, but to the form of collective ways of living and organizing that can overcome the patriarchal, racist and nationalist violence that upholds a criminal hegemony in our world. Documenta 15's Lumbung propagates not just the possibility and practice of other art forms, but of other life forms, other forms of living. Now, much has been said about Documenta 15 being an assembly of cultural practitioners and organizers working in the global south, but the question for me is if that's really its main contribution, as in geographically and culturally, of course, this Lumbung scatters the colonial canons that haunt much of our cultural and academic institutions and the white supremacist normativity they consciously or unconsciously maintain. But for me, more important is that Documenta 15 is not an event to consume. It's a site where life forms manifest, where solidarity is practiced, where collectivity is celebrated, where another world is not just imagined as something utopian, but enacted in the stubborn material reality of the present. And that enactment of this other art world, which is not a new art world, the way globalist art loves consuming the new without ever having to commit to genuine transformation, this other art world makes visible the depth of rupture that I mentioned earlier on. A depth of separation, a separation between what the capitalist art world says it is and how it really works, between what liberal media claim to be and how they actually report, between the human rights politicians claim to pledge fealty to and the reality of the masses that are not considered human enough to obtain rights in the first place. Did it matter that ruangrupa, the collective Taring Padi, and a vast majority of participating artists and counselors drafted nuanced and precise responses to violent and often fascist and racist attacks? Of course it did not, because the actual message from dominant institutions was: you don't belong here. Your struggles don't belong here. Your art does not belong here. Assimilate or leave. But for those of us for whom solidarity is not a word, but a practice, Documenta 15 embodies exactly the art world we feel we belong to, no matter whether we come from the south or the north. This is the art world we are moved by. This is the art world we want to learn from. This is the art world we want to contribute to. This is an art world where life forms assemble, life forms that we call our home. It's an art world in which we stand up equally against the shameful violence and discrimination of our Jewish comrades, as we stand up against the shameful violence and discrimination of black comrades and comrades of color. It's an art world in which the self-determination of our Ukrainian comrades is of equal importance as the self-determination of our Palestinian comrades. It's an art world in which we are only free when all of us are free. An art world where artistic and cultural practice is not about freedom for the individual, not about freedom as property or privilege, but freedom as a collective practice, as a collective form of life. So thank you to all the friends and comrades who made this rupture possible, who held their ground, who held our ground, for our art world is not going to leave. It's a home to many of us, and we stand together to make that home ever bigger in defense of an art world in which many worlds fit.